Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us. Joining us now, head coach Tom Sawyer from the Winona State Warriors. And first of all, just say congratulations on a great season. This has been a great fall following the Warriors this year, a 10-2 season. So let's dive right into the playoff game against Texas A&M-Commerce on Saturday. Obviously, it was a loss, but overall, your thoughts on the game?
Well, first of all, just going into it, and I appreciate you saying that about our year because it was an outstanding year. It comes to an abrupt halt, and you're kind of standing there going, okay, now what happened? But, you know, I thought we prepared well. Our kids came to play. You know, we were healthy, as good as we've been all year. So going into the game, felt really good about it. We knew we had a good football team coming in here, obviously, and you know, a nationally ranked team. And I thought the overall part of the game, I thought we moved the ball well, got in position, and unfortunately, we just couldn't score touchdowns to match theirs. They only scored 2 in the first quarters, but it was really that kind of a day where, you know, it was tough sledding, but we got in position and we just didn't convert. So with that, we at least had a different, you know, perception of the game, at least going into the second half.
All right, let's talk a little bit about, kind of give us an insight in the sidelines and kind of what you're thinking. According to the wrap-up that I saw and, you know, the stats that we had during the game, they scored 14 points before you guys had any positive yardage on the ground. So when you're faced with that on the sidelines, what are some of the things that are going through your head? What are you trying to do with your team on the sidelines?
Well, you know, we just go right back to fundamentals. Is, you know, when we get the football back, you know, and get a good position on the special teams. If they're going to kick it to us. We got good returns, and then move the sticks and just start getting into a rhythm. You know, they scored a couple times. We had to punt both times. They got the ball. You know, we had 2 good punts out of our own zone, but you got to move the sticks and get things moving and get, you know. Plus, we're into the wind. Yeah. So, you know, all of that was against us, and all year long we handled that. And this particular time, even our punt game handled it pretty well, but they played on a short field. And so with that, and then they had to work to get there. They scored 2 touchdowns, same kid, you know, and he kind of pushed off on the second one pretty bad. But definitely, you know, you got to get in rhythm. And that's what I was thinking on the sideline is we got to get our offense going, get our defense off the field. It was all part of the plan, and it just took us too long to get that going.
All right, let's talk about the defense first, because after they gave up those 2 touchdowns, then they kind of locked down for a little while and kind of gave your team a chance to get back into the game. How do you feel that the defense played after giving up the scores?
Well, I think they were very responsive. They just kept playing. I mean, our defensive kids played hard all year. They get after people. We still put a few hits on that quarterback, which was great. And you know, I thought overall we played pretty well. We had a couple mistakes that are costly, and in big games like that, it's going to. But to keep them out of the end zone on a team that averages, you know, 40 points a game and the #1 passing team in the country, I thought we did a pretty good job overall. But, you know, keeping them out of the end zone was a task, and we did it for the next 3 quarters. So I thought that overall they played really well.
Let's talk about the fact that coming into the game, we knew that Perez, the quarterback for Commerce, was a quarterback that didn't get sacked very often. You can pressure him, but he's going to get rid of the ball sometimes. How does that change? Or how do you plan against a quarterback that you know you're probably not going to be able to take down?
Well, part of it is what I said before, is try not to let him be on the field is part of it. But the second part is you just got to keep pressuring him. It's going to come. You know, when you get a shot at it, you got to make it hurt. And we did. We knocked a couple down. We got him on the ground a couple times. But, you know, he's also a 5th-year guy. He's experienced. He's been in the playoffs 3 years in a row. So he's a pretty cool, calm customer back there. And they got a huge offensive line that does a good job protecting him. So, but I thought we did all of that pretty well. You know, when he scrambled out, he made some plays. And, you know, he's not looking to run it. He did a couple times, but he wants to finish the play at the line of scrimmage and get rid of the football, and he's really good at it.
The other big defensive play came at right before halftime when they were driving and you guys stopped them. There was a penalty, I think, that pushed them back, and then they didn't get any more points heading into halftime. That kind of looked like it put the momentum back in your favor. Is that?
Yeah, going into halftime, you know, we're right there on the door. We're 2 plays away from winning the game, and we really felt like we were in good position. There wasn't any panic in the locker room or anything like that. Our coaches made a couple adjustments on both sides of the football, and we came out and had to play defense first and kicked off, and away we went. And you know, then we got some momentum. So we have to take advantage of any that you get. And I think for the most part, we handled the second half pretty well. We just didn't get us in enough opportunities to put touchdowns up.
What was your message to the team at halftime?
Just keep playing. You know, we were down, you know, a couple, like I said, we were just down a couple plays, and our energy was great. The kids got to go make plays, and We got to make them punt the football, and we got to find a way to get in the end zone. It was pretty simple, really. We didn't need to fire them up; they were already there, you know. And our kids play hard all the time. So the message was pretty clear. It was just let's go out and play. We're at home. We're in front of our own people. We play here all the time, and go see if we can get this thing down the stretch and find a way to win.
All right, let's talk about the offense then in this game. Obviously, it struggled a little bit. You were talking about the conditions, the wind, and that kind of cuts down on a passing game. I know the running game did fairly well in the game. Overall, your thoughts on the offense?
Yeah, we were just out of sync a little bit, and part of it is they're good. They're a good defense. They're great athletes up front. Darren wasn't as sharp as he's been. You know, he hadn't played in a couple weeks, but he had a pretty good week of practice. So we felt pretty good going in that, you know, that he was going to be able to perform at a high level, and he was the right guy for the job. And even though Owen had started the last 2 weeks, Darren was a guy, and you know, we even talked about it during the game. You know, is he going to be okay? And then he'd make a couple good plays. So it was like, but it was just sputtering. We didn't hit on all cylinders, and I think that obviously had an effect on the outcome.
All right, I have to ask the tough question here. We saw Darren get hit a couple of times, and then he's got a little slow to get back up. Was there ever a thought in your mind, halftime, end of third quarter, wherever, that you might make a quarterback switch?
Yeah, we talked about it on the sideline. We talked about it before halftime. We talked about it at halftime, and you know, but he got us there. And he wasn't disorientated. It wasn't because he was getting hit. He gets, you know, quarterbacks get hit all the time. So it really wasn't that. It was like, could we get him sharp enough and to be confident enough to still make plays? And we felt as a staff that he could still do that. So we went with him. We didn't think that bringing Owen in would make that big of a significant difference for the outcome of the game. So we let Darren run the table. He got us there. It was his game, and we let him run.
All right, let's talk a little bit then about your message then after the game. Obviously, emotions are kind of everywhere after the abrupt end of the season, like you said. What are some of the things that you talk to your team about after?
Well, I always address the seniors in that kind of a situation and thank them for putting our program in a position that you know, that they can really feel good about. We always talk about putting their numbers on the board. 2017's going up on our postseason appearance board. Very proud of them for that. So that's what I discussed, and also that it set the bar higher for the kids coming back in the program. So we have some kids that might be on the fence. Well, now's the time to get off the fence, either get in or get out, and because we have really, really high expectations all around our program. And it's exactly where we want to be. And so I said that. I said, enjoy the season that we had. You got beaten a playoff game at home. Hasn't happened in 10 years or more, 13 years from a home game. So I'm very proud of them, and that's what I discussed with them afterwards.
Another thing that you talked to the media about after the game was the fact that you kind of have a young team. I think it's 15 or 16 seniors graduate this year. Talk about the future of Warrior football, considering that you only have a few positions to replace.
Yeah, you know, we were losing some good ones, though.
Yeah,
you know, we're losing some very good ones. You know, but more importantly is we're sitting on the road and we were looking at you know, kids going up to eat, you know, breakfast one morning, and there was only about 8 or 9 seniors that were there, and there was like 20 redshirt freshman type of kids or freshmen. So you look at overall picture and a big picture of our program, we are very young and very talented in the young grades. What we got to do is grow up now. So we got to get our kids bigger and stronger to be able to handle the mass that we played at this year. You know, our 2 losses came against teams that were big, strong, and experienced, and so we got to get to that point with the rest of our team, and very, very excited to get back at it right after Christmas.
All right, I guess talk about what's next for you. When do you put this season behind you? When do you start thinking about next year?
Well, really, you know, as we're taping the show, you know, we have a staff meeting today. We you know, looking at, you know, have a team meeting tonight, turning equipment and all that kind of stuff. So really, you know, after Thanksgiving, it's full-blooded recruiting, and that's what we get after, and find the next best Warriors we can get our hands on.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll talk with the offensive and defensive coordinators to kind of break down the the playoff game, and then also break down the rest of the season and what's ahead for Warrior football. Zach Barton, the co-defensive coordinator, will join us right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often. Isn't it the worst when your kids are trying to do homework and the webpage won't load? Or you're trying to buy airline tickets to your next vacation destination and the checkout keeps timing out? When you switch to HBC's fast and reliable broadband internet service, these frustrations will be a thing of the past. Not only is the service fast and reliable, but it's backed by a 30-day guarantee and free local 24/7 Wizards technical support. Visit hbci.com to learn more or call 888-474-9995.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. Coach Sawyer, talk to your coordinators now and get their takes on the season.
Yeah, Zach, thanks for being here. Appreciate it very much. And, you know, got to what Justin was talking about before, but going into the game, what was the preparation ideas that you had going into the playoff game?
A lot of things you already touched on was trying to stop the quarterback, #1 passing offense in the country, and the Lone Star is a really good conference. And like you referenced before, he was an older kid, and you could tell he didn't get flustered by much. Not a lot of people were getting to him. Had a lot of athletes on the edge. 4 really good wideouts, 2 really good tight ends. 15 was obviously a explosive player, and his backup's a good player, 45. So we were kind of trying to figure out a way to get to him, but also not give up the big play. Was what we're trying to focus on, was a way to get pressure, but not leave guys on an island out there with all the skill that they had. So,
you know, the other part of it was, you know, as the game started going, and you know, he asked me how I felt on the sideline, but they scored 2 touchdowns in the first 3 drives. What was going through your conversation as a defensive staff?
Nothing really changed. The message hasn't changed all year, and we weren't going to change then. We just needed to figure out a way to get turnovers and get off the field on 3rd downs. They had multiple 3rd downs on both scoring drives. They had 4th down on their scoring drive. In the red zone, we're getting them into 3rd downs too. We got to figure out a way to get a stop. So nothing ever changed. There wasn't any panic with those guys. Andrew Spencer, Mike Imperiale, those guys have played a lot of football. They come to the boundary. There was no panic. We just had to do a better job of executing the plan, and that's what they did for the remainder of the game.
And talk about kind of those players that you mentioned, but that tenacity that the defense played with this year comes from not only you guys on the coaching staff, but also those players. What have you tried to build in those guys over the last 3 years that you really showed up here this senior year?
I think a lot of it, year from year to year, culture is different, but I think from where we were to where we're at now, that started with the guys that we had last year, guys like Jared Wood and, you know, Obed Jean-Baptiste and Austin Offer and Loudon Wood, guys that were just all the way in for Winona State football. That continued this year. You talk about those guys like Mike Imperiale, he's been here for 6 years. Andrew Spencer's been here for 5 years. And they've taken us from, obviously, where we didn't want to be to where we are now. And to say where we're at now is not where we want to end up, but they've led the charge in that deal. They've seen it all. They've been through a lot. Both of them. I mean, you're talking about Mike Imperiale, you're talking about a kid that's playing with a torn ACL and 2 pins in his thumb. Is amazing. And then people ask why we're so good. We're so good on defense because we got better kids. I mean, Andrew Spencer is the defensive player of the league, and Mike Imperiale is a great player. Luke Teague is another 5th-year senior. Guys like that, you're going to be successful. Those guys love Winona State football, and that's why we've transitioned. That's going to be the hard part. You're talking about what are we going to do next? Right. That's the transition for us on defense, is losing guys like that. Not only are they great players, but they were guys that, you know, been staying up in the summer the last couple of years. They do. I mean, this was it for them. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the transition for us defensively, is finding guys to fill those roles over the last 2 years, for guys that have gotten us to where we didn't want to be to where we are now. That's going to be our biggest transition. So when we came off the field and things weren't going great, those guys don't panic. They've been through it before. They understand what we needed to do, and they got it done in the second half. So, in second quarter on, I should say.
Having to replace, and I hate to use that word, but that's the best that I can come up with right now. Having to replace players is just a thing in college football and high school football. You know you only have players for a couple years and then they move on. But you mentioned Imperiale and Spencer, guys that have been with the program for a long time. How do you begin to replace what they brought to the defense? Because they both talked about, in interviews that I had with them, the fact that they brought the defense up from a couple years ago where the team, you know, was sub 500 to last year and then this year to get to the playoff game. So how do you begin to replace not only what they do on the field, but what they bring to the team?
Well, I think this year we were able to see, because Mike missed some games. So what we try to do defensively is not talk about it. If you can't, next man up type of deal. Our message never really changes from what we're trying to do. And instead of, oh no, Mikey can't play, panic, we've got to go to the next guy. And David Smith stepped in and did a phenomenal job. So that's the attitude we're going to have to take, keep developing kids. And a lot of guys played defensively. Gale stepped up big time last couple of games and stepped in and did a nice job. And you can't worry about that. You've got to continue to develop guys, and those guys are. We've been knowing for a while that Andrew's going to be done, unfortunately. So we've got a bunch of young guys that are bought in or better be ready to go. The bottom line, because nobody's going to feel bad for us because Andrew's gone. I know a lot of people around the conference that are pretty happy about that. Yeah. So we've got the right guys in place. They just got to continue to develop, and they got a lot of reps this year, which is huge, game reps. Romario Gale playing in a playoff game is huge for that man's growth, and that's going to be the guy that we're counting on to step in and take Andrew's spot. He's got to be ready to go.
You know, the last one I have for you, Zach, is as we start moving forward with our program and recruiting season, what do you think are the priorities in our recruiting on the defensive side?
Well, the defensive side, I think it's obviously we're looking for what everybody else is looking for: big, strong, fast. But more importantly, we're looking for guys that are the right fit. You look at some guys on our defense, Cole Moncton, obviously, a kid that's a great illustration of what we're looking for, a guy that comes out there and competes no matter what. And sure, he might be outgunned at some points with speed and strength and things of that nature, but he is a unbelievable football player, great competitor. So we're trying to not only look for, obviously, the essentials that everybody else looks for, but we're looking for mindset and culture and work ethic, things of that nature. I think that kind of separates kids from other kids that are usually everybody's big, strong, and can fast, but if you got a kid that can compete when the chips are down, I think you have something special.
All right. Well, again, thank you for coming in, and again, congratulations on a great season.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show, and when we come back, we'll talk offense. Cameron Keller will join us right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy. Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often. Ever wish you could just swing by the local office to pay your bill quickly rather than calling a toll-free number and speaking to a machine? When you join the HBC family, you get that and so much more with local office locations and customer care. Whether you have general questions or would like to upgrade your services, HBC is here in your community, providing an unrivaled personalized experience. Switching is easy and installation is free, and we're so sure you'll love HBC, we offer a 30-day guarantee. Visit hbci.com to learn more or call 888-474-9995 to experience the HBC difference.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. And Coach Sawyer will go offense now.
Yeah, Cam, thanks for being here. Let's jump right into it. Let's talk about Darren and what's happened with him over the last month and why we continue to support him and what he did in the football game on Saturday.
Well, you go all the way back to the Mankato game. He took a pretty hard shot early in the second quarter. Blitz pickup that he just missed the check and took a helmet right under the chin. He was able to come back from it, played okay the rest of the game. Some guys around him just didn't make some plays and put him in some bad spots in the third quarter, and he took a couple more shots, and eventually we had to take him out. He did have a concussion, and probably tried to rush back a little too fast, and so we ended up going with Owen for the last 2 weeks, and he was completely cleared to play and had a great week of practice, and I think everything leading up to the game would not have led me to believe that he was not going to be comfortable out there. I think he felt good about the game plan, and he did a nice job all week in practice. And so the tough thing about playing quarterback at the college level is it's so much about rhythm. And when you get a guy that hasn't played really in almost a month, it's hard to get back into a rhythm. And especially in a game where early on we didn't help him all that much. Tanner had the drop on third down early that would have moved the chains. Just dropped the ball, and they gave us a couple different fronts defensively that we weren't ready for, so we didn't run the football effectively right out of the gate. And so when you have those things in a quarterback that hasn't played for a while, it's hard to get into sync. And he finally got going at a couple spots. We just didn't have enough guys around him making plays.
You know, you talk about the guys around him, though, and we talk about, you know, seniors earlier. We have a lot of kids coming back offensively, and why don't you talk just about that a little bit, about how much growth that we should be able to see here in the next few months?
Well, I think maybe the one thing that's so surprising is how many guys on offense we do have coming back. We're losing 4 guys up front, which will be huge to replace. But 3 of the 4 of those guys, you know, started over 20 games for us, but you know, 2 of them were injured this year and didn't really play. And so we already got a chance to get a taste for what it was going to be like without them. And so, you know, we feel good moving forward that some younger guys got some reps and got into some really good game situations. But if you look at our wide receivers, the only senior we're losing is Justin Bergeron, who was a backup and played kind of in some different roles. But all the rest of those guys are coming back. Everybody in the backfield's coming back. We're going to have to replace Zach Olstead. That's going to be a huge loss for us because he's a kid that not only is a really good football player, but he's extremely good with the younger guys. He's good in the huddle, and he's just a tough, hard-nosed football player. And so those are hard to replace. But I think when you look at the bulk of the group that's coming back, it's hard not to get excited.
Yeah, you didn't have or last year you had more spots to fill, obviously, because Jack Nelson was gone. You had some wide receivers and running backs and that were leaving. So this year, can Warrior fans assume that Owen Burke will be the starting quarterback next year? Is that something that you decide later on?
Well, I don't think you ever make that decision right now, but I do think that moving forward, you have a kid in Owen that started 3 football games for us and was 3-0 as a starter. And you know, if you look at the way that he played, especially the last 2, the first start at Minot is tough because he didn't know until Thursday he was starting a game. And so, you know, even Darren had been practicing all week and got the bulk of the work. And so Owen was kind of thrown to the wolves there, and long road trip. But the last 2 games, he knew going in he was the starter, and he prepped all week as the starter, and we had a whole week to get him ready, and it showed. He played with confidence. He knew exactly what situations to get us into, and I think the product on the field was representative of that. And so you would think that going forward that he would have a leg up on the rest of the guys. But I'm excited about that group. They all have had good camps. They've all been playing pretty consistently. We've got 2 young guys that are going to be good to watch, and then we'll go out and continue to recruit good quarterbacks. So, you know, I think that you would assume he's going to be able to continue to grow and get better, but you know, at the end of the day, he's still got to go perform.
You know, the last one I have for you, Cam, is, you know, talking about, you know, the program future, and I'll ask the same as I asked Zach about the recruitment. What do you think our biggest needs are right now as we get to work here the next 3 months finding new Warriors?
Well, I think Zach hit on it. We got to get bigger and we got to get stronger up front. And for us, I know that with Coach Holtzclaw, that's been a huge point of emphasis as we've gone through the recruiting, is the types of guys that we're looking at in the offensive line. You know, if you go back a few years, even back to Coach Blazik, he liked the smaller, more athletic guys. We've kind of started to see that the thing that we struggle with the most are D-lines that are a lot bigger than us, which we saw this last weekend against Commerce. And so for us to take the next step, we have to be able to match their size and strength. And that's got to be a huge point of emphasis for us as we move forward.
Okay.
I kind of asked Coach Barton the same question, but you alluded to it with Zach Olstead. How do you begin to replace guys like a Zach Olstead who maybe you don't see their stats week in and week out, but they are kind of the heart of your team?
Well, I think it goes back to one of the fundamentals of this program is leadership. And what Zach has done over the last 6 years is create an example for guys of how to do it the right way. And if you do it the right way, you keep your nose down, you just outwork people, you're going to have great results. And I think that what he's been able to do is show the younger guys what it means to actually work. And, you know, he's a kid from Fillmore that came in at 205 pounds, and he finished as a 4-year starter for us on offensive fullback at 245 pounds. And so he is a self-made product. There's no doubt about it. And I think what you hope is that all the younger guys have seen that example and will continue to carry that as we move forward. Guys like Jack DeGroot and Butch Haynes, and you know, now it's their time to step up and take the torch.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in here.
Yep.
And again, congratulations on a great season.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show, and we'll put the final wrap on the season right after this.
With so many new items on the menu at Wellington's Pub and Grill, you're in for some tough decisions. 6 different salads, homemade soups, huge wraps, juicy steaks, the Wells' own smokehouse ribs, and as always, the best burgers in town. See, we told you it wasn't going to be easy, Log on to wellingtonspubandgrill.com for daily lunch and evening specials. With so many choices for lunch and dinner, you can never come to this well too often. Imagine streaming your favorite 4K Ultra HD movie with no buffering or pixelation, even when your kids are gaming in the next room. Better yet, experience it with unlimited internet data usage and the fastest speeds around. Whether you're an occasional video snapper or a full season streamer, HBC can take you into the next generation of possibilities. Visit hbci.com to learn more or call 888-474-9995 to sign up for fast, limitless internet.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25, brought to you by Wellington's Pub and Grill. And Coach Sawyer, I guess just kind of final thoughts here on the season. I know that this year was a little bit different because there is a little bit more excitement around the Warrior football team with all the things that happened pregame, and the fans really got into it. Great season. And so just the excitement level of Warrior football was up this year. Do you have any thoughts on the fans and what that brought to the program this year?
Well, it was amazing. First of all, I want to say thanks to HBC. Got the playoff game. I think that all adds to it, where people around our communities can see the level of football that we're playing at and that we're playing against. Mm-hmm. So that was great. The game day experience was amazing. Something we've dreamed about here for many years. To where we'd have a carnival atmosphere in our tailgate situation, and it was delivered by our Football Players Association, which is Scott Opfer, one of our alum Hall of Famer, and a gang of football alumni. And they put that together, but it went further than that. It went into the university from the president on down, the alumni office, the advancement office, the student union, the student senate. Everybody was involved with this and created an atmosphere that is truly a college football game day. Mm-hmm. And when we put the Warrior March together, or the Warrior Walk together, and you got a police officer escorting the kids down, and we got little kids behind it, or other sport groups or activities, Big Brothers, Big Sisters were there. We're creating a community event, and that's something I've always dreamed of. Along with, we raised a bunch of money for scholarships already, and we already started raising money for our stadium upgrade. So there's a lot of really fun things around the program, and we put our product out there too. So we brought a home playoff game to Winona at the same time. So right now everything's coming together, and feel very, very good and fortunate and proud to be a Winona guy.
Do you sense any difference in the level that kids come in when they are on their recruiting trips with all of this added things to it? Oh,
it's amazing, and if we can get to the point where we put a video board up and those kind of things, it just gets to be that much bigger. But the kids that have visited us, they love this place. They do, and it's tough decisions whether they go somewhere else for more money or whatever it may be. But each kid that we had in on game days, that they were walking around, and we have bands playing at homecoming and all those kind of things, and walking through the tunnel. That's cool stuff for high school seniors to look at and be a part of. And they were very excited, and we've gotten a lot of compliments, and we've got some kids that have already committed to us.
All right, last question that I have then for this. We talked about it a little bit in the first segment. Your off season. I know you don't get much of one. What happens with you now during the off season? Well,
I eat a lot on Thursday. We'll start there on Thanksgiving Day. But yeah, it's recruiting, and our guys and Zach is in charge of our recruitment. But our staff will be out December 1st, and so right now between now and then we're looking for the best kids that we can get in the Midwest and other places. And we don't want to have a lot to replace, but we want to replace it with high level players. And so the evaluation part of that is going to be important. We'll meet with our team and evaluate what we do offense and defensively. So it's a big review through the recruiting process. Then once we start back in, after Christmas, holiday time, we get right back at it and get ready for spring practice.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in here. Thank you for all the access that you give to us.
Yep.
Again, congratulations on a great season. Congratulations on your NSIC Coach of the Year award.
Appreciate that.
And good luck in this offseason.
Thanks. I appreciate it very much.
All right. And that's going to wrap it up for the season here on the Tom Sawyer Show. Stay tuned on HBC TV 25. We'll change seasons. We'll get to basketball. That's going to be coming up here on TV 25.